And we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Roll call. Yeah.
Mr. Edwards,
Here.
Mrs. Grant,
Present.
Mr. Palomo,
Here.
Mrs. Smith.
Present. For our first item of business tonight, I would like to ask for a motion to approve Jacqueline Salee to the governing authority of the Townsend Community School. And this appointment would begin this evening, and it would end July 31st, 2020, or July 31st, 2022. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll move.
Moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And seconded by Israel. Is there any discussion? Other than hurrah? We'll have the roll, Mike.
Mrs. Grant,
Yes.
Mr. Palomo,
Yes.
Mr. Edwards,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes. Very good. Jackie, you're official.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. All right, now at this point in time then, Jackie, you are permitted to vote and make motions accordingly. So we'll move ahead and ask for approval of the agenda and or any corrections or additions that there may be. Is there, could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move. Second.
By Israel, seconded by Kent. We'll have the roll, please.
Mr. Palomo,
Yes.
Mr. Edwards,
Yes.
Mrs. Grant,
Yes.
Mrs. Salee,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes. All right, now we need to move on to the approval of the minutes for both the October 20th regular meeting and the October 29th meeting. Is there a motion to that effect to approve those minutes?
I'll move.
Moved by Dor. Is there a
Second.
second? Second by Kent.
Second.
Very good. And we'll have the roll, please.
Mrs. Grant,
Yes.
Mr. Edwards,
Yes.
Mr. Palomo,
Yes.
Mrs. Salee,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes. At this time, we'll move on to the sponsors report. And Ed, I'm assuming since Steve is not here, you're handling the report for this evening.
Yeah, and just to let the TCS Board of Directors know, very appreciative of the work that we've done with Jeff and Ryan. They've been great with us. Steve Keller's done a lot of work, as Diane and I have. We went through a high stakes review of TCS, and in that process, we put a recommendation to our board last night to renew our contract for a 2-year period. We also sent what we've done to Carl Koenig, who's Director of Community Schools, to approve our sponsorship of you for 2 years. And all that's in place and we're moving forward. We have a timeline of trying to get things done as we move through the agreement with ODE. Jeff and Ryan have been great. They got to us a template of a draft of a blended learning model to move forward. We're going through that this week. And then hopefully by the end of the month, we'll have a pretty much set in stone, a model of a blended learning model that would be approved through our agreement with ODE, which is something very concrete and very solid that we can work off of moving forward. So we're excited about that. Beyond that, both us, Margaretta Local Schools, and TCS are dealing with the COVID situation. It's hitting both schools. We are looking, just so your board of directors are aware, I'm in conversation with the area superintendents almost on a daily basis. Margaretta right now is full in 5 days. I think after Thanksgiving, we're going to have to adjust and maybe go back to hybrid. We haven't made that official yet, but we're really getting hit with staffing. We have students that are being affected by the COVID, whether it be quarantine or positive cases. And with the spiking, in my direct conversation with the health department and the health director of Erie County, they anticipate that that spike's going to go into the week after Thanksgiving and beyond into the second week. So you're looking at the second week of December where the spiking is going to be continuing. So we're dealing with that, both TCS and Margaretta, as all schools are. So it's very frustrating because we feel like we're getting a lot done being full in. But, you know, you're getting a lot done in the remote setting, and, you know, we're just trying to get things done to educate kids, and it's frustrating because we're hitting the COVID situations. But beyond that, we're up for the 2-year sponsor. Carl Coney should have that signed and back to us. And we're moving forward with trying to hit the dates of the things that we need to do for the ODE agreement. And that's my report. Any questions from the board of directors to me?
No questions, Ed. I just wanted to reiterate that that contract would run until 2023 then, right? The contract that we're talking about.
2021 through 2023.
Right.
Yes.
Very good. And within that, as a point of information, just so you would know, I don't know if people had a chance to look at the information that Steve sent us, but the governing authority got 6 out of 6 points. So that was really a positive thing. I thought that was, we appreciated that recognition that we're doing what we need to do. I think that as we move forward, we're going to be talking about a work session here in just a minute, that there are some things that they pointed out in the high stakes review that we might want to target as some work in our work session and goal setting. So we'll be talking about that in the future. And maybe we could have someone from Margaretta even attend that for that part of the work session, and so that we can get the guidance that we need from Margaretta. So we'll be in touch about that.
Yeah, whatever you need, we'll be there.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much for your report. We appreciate Margaretta's support. We'll move on now to the board members' liaison reports. I just wanted to report that I had attended, I'm going to mute this for just a minute. I had attended the trauma-informed workshop that was held on November 7th by the Ohio Department of Education. I thank Mr. Kurt and Carrie Keller for sending that notification. It was very interesting. It was an all-day the other thing I wanted to mention under my legislative report is you should have received notification from the Ohio School Board Association about the Fair School funding plan. And I wanted to make you aware of the fact that that is an organization or a coalition that Bob Smith has been working on with Bill Phillis. So that Fair School funding plan is something that Bob has his fingers in, and I thought you'd like to know that and might be interested in that. As we move to the other liaison reports, personnel, Israel, do you have anything to report at this time?
Nope, I do not.
Okay, and Dora, under professional development?
Nothing at this time, Jane.
Okay, and Kent?
I've been a little too busy to have any meetings with Ed or our sponsors, so hopefully next month I'll have something.
All right, very good. And Jackie, I'll be talking with you about the possibility of working with Mike a little bit with the finances, just to help you understand how things are moving along. So Mike, I'll have you get with Jackie on that then.
Okay.
Okay, very good. All right, Mike, we'll move on to the treasurer's report.
All right, I am going to attempt a screen share like I did a couple months ago, but it's a new platform. We'll see how this goes. Host disabled screen sharing. You still on there, Dave?
Yeah,
It says I can't screen share.
hang on, give me a second here. Let me see if I make you the host, if you can do the screen share. Give me a second.
Okay.
All right, you're the host now. You should be able to.
Screen share. Can you see that? Can everybody see this, the financials?
Yes,
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 sir.
very good.
I'm going to attempt to have to do the 5-year on that too, and only let me pick this one document. So we'll see how it goes. But for this is the reconciliation for October. You can see we're just shy of 2 million. So things are looking okay right now. Check register. The one thing I wanted to point out is we had 2 Margaretta invoices. I've been talking with Diane. We kind of caught up on those invoices. So we had 2 from Margaretta. And then also we had, I think CSC put in the wireless access for the outside of the building where anybody can come and access the internet from outside. And we also had our first billing from VLA. So we had a quarterly billing from them. So those are some of the checks, a little bit different than normal. Any questions on any of those, stop me. Feel free to. We have the outstanding checks, and then let's see if I can rotate this. Maybe too much. There we go.
There you go.
Here's the spreadsheet. So one thing I wanted to point out is when we look at the budgeted for the fiscal year, this 4.1, this was done obviously at the beginning of the year. Revenue is going to be higher than this. Our enrollment is higher than anticipated, so this is a good thing. Originally, I had thought we'd be about 50%, which is about where we were. But with this budgeted amount that we have in there, that's low. So we're actually not at 50%, which is a good thing for right now. So I wanted to point that out. One thing you'll notice on the expenses for the month down here, these are a little higher percentages. We did have 3 bill runs. So that's kind of why those percentages are a little higher. And like I said, we had 2 Margaretta invoices. So those always jack up the debt service and other objects, which is what basically that comes from. Total FTE for the month of October was 661.55. That is being reported at 80%. Any questions on this for the month of October? All right. Looking forward to November. Get this right, maybe. One thing I wanted to point out to you here was, like I had said last month, it looks like they're still taking these adjustments out. Talking with Aaron Roush, I'm starting to get a little bit more confident that it is going to be 4.5% come January. So if that's how it goes, we are going to see a large chunk of money come back to us because we've already paid over 4.5% of what our projected revenue would be for the year. So this is a good sign. And you'll see this on the 5-year forecast. That's kind of how I base the 5-year when we get there, just so you know, it's based on 4.5%. That's an assumption that's in the assumptions. If that were to change, the 5-year forecast would change. Obviously, we've done this before, so you guys are aware of that. Moving forward to the FTE for November, we're at 646.7. Any questions on any of that? All right,
Nope.
I'm going to attempt to find see if I can just do my desktop. Do the assumptions pop up for you guys?
Yes,
Okay. Is it large enough?
no,
No? Great. Let's see if I can zoom this in quick. How's that?
good.
Okay. Assumptions are pretty similar to previous forecasts we've looked at. I did take the FTE from November and stick that in there because that's the most current one. I tried to update this. The reason I was a little bit late didn't get to you till Sunday was I was updating all of the information from the November payment to get it as accurate as I could, and my power went out, and it turns out that autosave is not a thing. So I had to redo all of the updates. So I apologize for doing this to you late. When we start to go to the forecast, FY21 is based on 650. We're pretty close to that right now. That's assuming that we stay around that. I didn't increase it at all. I'm hoping we can stay in that range for 21. In 22, it drops a little bit based on the agreement we have in place with the 6-county radius. I have no idea what that number is actually going to be. I can tell you we have 200 some outside of the 6 counties. I'm just trying to be proactive here and say, okay, what if we lose this many? This is what it'll look like. So that's kind of how I base these numbers. Then I have very moderate growth moving forward. We continue to base the receipts on 80%. Wages.
Mike, explain to Jackie what that means, 80, when we say 80%.
So 80%, essentially, with one FTE, you get a specific amount of funding, which is like $6,020. We in the past have had FTE.
Okay,
Can she hear me? Can you hear me, Jackie?
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So in the past, we have had issues where we weren't able to capture all of the hours needed to get a full FTE. We have found that around 83% in the past was pretty close to what we were able to capture. We have a whole 72-hour rule. This is probably things I can go into detail with you. Maybe we'll meet face to face with Mass and go over that. But essentially, we have found that about 80 to 83% is what we're able to actually capture from the kids as far as hours go. So we actually adjust our funding from the state. Instead of getting 100% of what we should get, we have actually knocked it down 20% to fight these paybacks that we've had in the past. So that's where the 80% comes from. And this will be something that we'll have to evaluate moving forward, especially with whatever kind of model we end up with. So it'll just be something that's going to be ever changing. But right now, the forecast is based on 80%.
Okay.
Salaries and wages, basically what I've said here is that we have given a step each year, but there's no base pay built into it. So there's a step for all the teachers and everybody, but there's not a base pay increase to the salary. Like I've been doing, we've seen an average over the few years of insurance premiums increasing. I did it at 10% for the forecast. One thing I wanted to point out was when we get to the other debt. So this is what I was talking about with the 4.5%. This particular forecast is built with the fact that we are only going to pay 4.5% of our FTE determinations, which is what the agreement is in place. So with this forecast, that is assuming that January comes around and anything we've paid over 4.5% would come back to us. So when we look at the forecast on the 819 other debt section, you're going to see that's 4.5%. So it's not actually what we've paid. So this is assuming we get that money back. And then moving forward past then, I did it at 8%. And I noted that if there's more than a 6% variance, it will move up to 12% in the following years. The 12% is not built in there. I'm hoping we can get by the 8% and the 6%, I mean. So I just have it at 8. I also left the debt retirement in here. This ends December 2020. I just signed a check today for November. So we have one more payment on the building and then that's paid off. The only thing I did add was that there was one additional staff member added in FY24. Like you guys know, when we're looking at these forecasts, FY24 is basically a light year away. So I put that in there just because I put it in the forecast, but you know. Okay, any questions on the assumptions? All right. So the forecast, is that pretty small?
Yeah, trying to make it just a little bit bigger, I think.
How's that?
That's better.
Okay.
That's good. That's good.
Okay. So when we were looking at the monthly spreadsheet, like for October, income was around 4.2. I'm actually projecting it to be maybe up to $1 million higher if enrollment stays the exact same. So that's where this number would come into effect and where it would change. Where I was telling you, it looks like we're at 50% of our revenue. I don't think we're at 50% yet. I think our revenue is going to be higher. So this is where I think our projected revenue is going to be. Moving down the one thing, the other debt, this line 27 here, this 224,042, that's 4.5. So we've already paid well over that. So we could see money coming back to us. So this is what I was telling you, what I had to build in for 4.5% and then 8% thereon. So I wanted to point that out to you. other than that, I had showed you that the total FTE at 650, and then it drops off next year to 450, and then I just had moderate growth going forward. We won't really know. Ending balances look pretty good. These expenses can be adjusted as needed because you can see we have some shortfalls if things were to continue that way in the following years. But again, that sounds like a problem for next year or the year after. Let's get through this year. But as of right now, this is kind of where I'm at with the 5-year. A lot of estimates, as you guys know. This is kind of a document that should be taken for what it is. And with a community school 5-year forecast, is difficult to predict. So I wouldn't look too much into the future years, but this is where I think we could possibly be at the end of this fiscal year, assuming the 4.5%. That's key there. Now that could be if that doesn't happen, that particular part in the assumptions with the FTE payback on line 819, that could have a hundreds of thousands of dollars swing. If for some reason that didn't change and it wasn't 4.5%. So keep that in mind. I do anticipate it, but I'm one of those people you anymore, you got to see it to believe it. So we'll find out in January. But after that, this is just a breakdown of the purchase services. This number matches what you're spending in purchase services up top. They have a financial metrics that is all written into that. I don't do that. It takes it from your numbers up top and then your projected debt, which right here is where you can see we actually pay off the building. There's our balance for the ODE overpayments. Other than that, that's pretty much all I got for you. I know that was a lot of information, but does anybody have any questions as of now?
Any questions?
Nope.
All right. I'm going back to my agenda and I'm trying to find it here. I know it's here. Here we go. Is there a motion? That's a lot of work, Mike, and thank you for it, especially when you lose power. That's scary. Is there a motion to approve items A through D of the treasurer's report?
I'll move.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Kent, seconded by Dora.
Mr. Edwards.
Yes.
Mrs. Grant.
Yes.
Mr. Palomo.
Yes.
Mrs. Saley. Sorry. Mrs. Smith.
Yes. All right, very good. We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I feel like that old Verizon commercial.
Exactly.
I said that before and didn't hear a response, and I thought, oh, I muted myself. Okay, items A through E, I'll go through those real quick. Item A, recommendation to approve awarding of high school diplomas to the students that are listed. Item B, we have a recommendation to approve a one-time payment of a $165 stipend / bonus to each TCS employee. Said payment would be made the second pay period in December. Item C, recommendation to acknowledge the receipt of the high stakes survey completed by Townsend Community Schools sponsor, Margaret Local School District. Item D, recommendation to approve the employment of Daniel Parrish at step 0 of the teacher salary schedule. Said schedule to be prorated and said teacher to start at a date determined by the superintendent, but no earlier than December 17th. Now, December 17th happens to be their graduation date for Bowling Green. In talking with our legal counsel, Adam Sheriff, we can't start her until she has her license. She's hopeful to have her license near the end of December. Again, whenever she gets that, that'll be the actual start date. It would be not appropriate or otherwise illegal to start her ahead of the date that license is issued. And she's aware of that. She knows that everything's fine. So we're still moving forward. No surprises here. I've got some really nice recommendations back on this young teacher. We're real excited to have her this time of the year to get such a quality teacher. Fate just smiled on us, folks. We got real lucky there, but a quality teacher, and we're real happy to bring her on board. Item E, and you should have gotten her resume too.
Jeff, I need to interrupt you for just a minute because item D does not have what her assignment is.
She would be an intervention specialist. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, she's a special ed teacher. Our ratios, we're just running way too tight on our ratios of students to intervention specialists, and we've been carrying it for a few months, and the enrollment is just holding real steady. And we've got some teachers that are at max or maybe one or two over. So this is a needed hire for us at this point. Item E, recommendation to approve. It's called a program contract with North Central Ohio ESC for services for the visually, it says impaired. It should say impaired, IM, as needed for the current school year. Again, that's kind of like the nursing contract. If we need it, it's sitting there, we can use it. If we don't need it, we will use it, and it won't cost us anything. But those are the recommendations that we have before you tonight. Items A through E. If you'd like, we can go back through any one of those, and I can elaborate even more. If you have any questions or concerns, I'd be happy to entertain those at this time.
Can we separate, sorry.
Go ahead.
Can we separate the stipend one?
Well, yeah, we probably can. I mean, we approved the agenda, but yeah, we can pull that out and vote on that separately if you would like.
I just probably should. I don't know.
That's correct,
Oh, yeah,
Ken,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I
I
didn't.
abstain.
Thanks for that.
I am so
I
sorry,
appreciate that.
Board Member Edwards. I should have caught that. My mistake. Yeah, let's separate those out. So, Mike, when you do the minutes, let the minutes reflect. We're going to vote on items A through D, where C, D, and E will now move up one, and C will become B. You get it.
Yeah, I got
And
it.
then we'll come back through and we'll do a standalone for the recommendation for the stipend.
Good catch, Kent. Good catch. All right, is there a motion having
Trying not to get in trouble.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
having revised the lettering, we're going to ask for a motion to approve action items A through D as they are now lettered. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll move.
Dora, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Israel. We'll have the roll, please.
Mrs. Grant,
Yes.
Mr. Palomo,
Yes.
Mrs. Salee,
Yes.
Mr. Edwards,
Yeah,
Mrs. Smith.
Yes. And now we'll go back to action item E to approve the one-time payment of the $165 stipend to our staff. That's going to be paid in December. Is there a motion to that effect?
I'll move.
Moved by Israel. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Dora. Before we vote on that, I'm hoping that we have some teachers that are listening to our meeting. If not, at least we'll be sure to include in the minutes that the board is highly appreciative of all the work that the staff did from July to the start of the school year and continue to do. And this is at least a minimal gesture that we can make in appreciation for all your work. So truly, truly, thank you. Is there a motion? Oh, we have a motion and a second. Let's have the roll, please.
Palomo,
Yes.
Mrs. Grant,
Yes.
Mrs. Salee,
Yes.
Mr. Edwards,
Abstain.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes. Very good. All right, what I am asking for now is that we move into executive session to discuss or consider the employment of a public employee. For this executive session, we would require board members only. And David, if you would care to turn over the hosting to me in the event that we would need that, I would appreciate that.
Yep. Gene, do you know how to create the breakout room?
I'm sorry?
Do you know how to create the breakout rooms?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm passing it on to you, and I'm gonna stop the recording.
Okay, and I just have to get, right now I'm not seeing that I have the breakout room capability yet.
Just gave it to you.
There it is. Okay, very good. All right.
Will
All right.
will there be any action after this executive
there-
session?
No, there will not.
Okay.
So I can go ahead and
I'm gonna
stop.
go ahead and
So
sign
I can go ahead
off.
and stop the recording, and I'll just put that in as a text message on the screen at the end of the recording.
Okay, very
No
good.
action was taken.
Very good. And Mike, I can
All right.
finish up if you want.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, very
All right.
good.
Thank you,
Yes.
Board of Directors. Have a nice evening.
Yep, you too. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate the support. Bye-bye.